Hey, it's Heidi Dawson, and this is Wednesday Wisdom, where I interview wildly successful people from across the world, where we get an inside view into what their daily life looks like. Success leaves clues, and on Wednesdays, we're finding them. Join me now for the latest wildly successful interview. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 110 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. So today I have Julie Bruns with me. She's an Amazon #1 best-selling author. Her book is entitled Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective, which makes me want to read it just by the title. But there are so many good nuggets in our episode today. She is super passionate about her mission, which is working with corporations to help employees embrace workplace wellness. She also talks about technology and how, believe it or not, having your iPhone close to you lowers your IQ. I didn't know that. I believe it though. So listen in as Julie and I have a conversation. It is so much fun and there's lots of good stuff. Hi, Julie. It is so nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too, Heidi. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here. We were chatting a little bit before we started recording, and you showed me your view of the city, which is fantastic. So I'm just a little bit jealous, but I have a beautiful view right now that is not normal, which is the snow. So, but you're getting snow, which is, you guys get way more snow than we do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Well, you can handle it, I think. We just can't. So, all right. So I love to start out my interviews with a morning routine question because I'm kind of obsessed with that. I think that the way you start your day is so important. How do you get your day started? Do you have a morning routine?
I love this question, and I'm so glad you're asking it because I don't think people realize how impactful it is. I didn't until 3 or 4 years ago. I would just get up and start working, open my email and like probably like most people in the world, it's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't set the tone for your day. So I started a gratitude practice and a meditation practice. And I think I started the gratitude first. My husband was on a business trip and I went with him and I was working in the hotel while he was at the conference. And that was just my way of like, I'm going to start a new routine because I'm gone. I write about this in my book. But basically it's like, your routine is your routine because you're at home and you're used to, or wherever you go every day, it's what you're used to. But I was like, I'm not used to anything. I'm going to try something new. And instead of turning on the news every morning, just for like 10 minutes, just to warm up my house and my basement in the morning, I'm going to say 3 things I'm grateful for. I was reading about how important obviously gratitude was. And I was afraid that if I did it and I had to write it in a journal or do it in a certain place or whatever, I'd always find an excuse. So instead I just said to myself, I'm going to wake up before I even open my eyes, before my feet hit the floor. The first thing I'm going to do is say 3 things I'm grateful for. So I don't need my phone. I don't need my journal. Writing's awesome, but if I don't have that, I can still do it. So 3 things I'm grateful for every morning. They can be big or little. And then I immediately go into meditation. And I have an app on my phone. I found it by accident when I was researching this topic several years ago, and it's called the Breathe app with 2 E's. I love it. And the nice thing about it for me is that I didn't want to just have music or just space and silence. It's visual guiding. So you pick the topic that you want to focus on. Like that morning you're feeling you want to be more successful that day or more confident or more in the moment or whatever you want to focus on. It has that topic. Okay. It has hundreds of them. And you pick the topic, like I want to work on loneliness or whatever it is. And it could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes. So I scroll through, I'm like, what am I feeling today? And I pick the topic and I hit play. And I just lay there in my bed after my gratitude, three things of gratitude, and I meditate on something. I have several meditations now. I have a file on my phone that I keep visualizations and meditations in. And then I have this app and I go back and forth. Okay. And I pick a topic and I meditate for, it used to be 10 minutes because I'm like, I have to hurry up and get to work, right?
Right.
And now it's like half hour sometimes.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, good.
The more you do it, that's the thing about it. The more you do it, the more you want to feel that way because you're starting your day with all these awesome things that you're visualizing for your day. So like, ooh, what else do I want to visualize? What else do I want to focus on? And it's all good stuff. So you almost don't want to stop. But then when you get up, you have all this positive energy and focus instead of doing some of those other things I mentioned.
Yeah. So I'm so in there with you. I definitely have, my meditation
is something that is so valuable to me. And I get that. There have been times where, like this last week has been kind of crazy. We have a renovation or whatever going on in our house, and it's been snowing like crazy. And so I've been a little bit out of my routine, and I hadn't meditated and done my grateful journal. I'm just telling you the difference it makes, and I can't explain it. I guess I can. My meditation is where I get all of my inspiration for my podcast on Monday, and it just comes to you, and it's not anything. You're not intentionally. The harder I try, the less it works. So
Right.
if I just let it go and just meditate. So the breathe app, though, I wanted to touch base on that. Is that BREETH?
And then an E at the end, BREETHE. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard of that, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna look that up. That sounds really good to me.
I love
I'll
it.
look that.
Yeah, because a lot of people say I can't just lay there and think of it. I can't concentrate. I'll just lay there and my to-do list goes through my head. So for me, it was easier to say, like, so she'll say, like, letting go is whatever it is,
Yeah,
waking up with great energy, whatever it is. But she walks you through it, and there's some beautiful music in the background, and there's calm talking, but it's not constant talking. It's just enough for you to focus on the thing that you want to improve on or feel better about.
yeah. So I
You
use
can have just one more thing, sorry. Well, you can have plain music. You can do like a bedtime hypnotherapy. There's all kinds of there's stories in there. There's longer things that'll help you put you to sleep and all kinds of like healing things, also like bigger, bolder things. I just do little meditations, but if you're a person that loves music, or she has a whole section where it's just sounds like fire, you want to go to sleep with rain, with the ocean, with crackling campfire, like you name it, it's there.
Yeah, I love that. I use the Calm app for sleep
Yeah.
stories, and so there that it sounds similar, but that one sounds like I'm gonna give it. I'll take a look at it, and I'll put it in the show notes too. So if anybody listening wants to hear
Yeah.
well, so okay, that's awesome. What a great morning. So you do that every day, or do you find times where you're like, I
Monday through Friday, every single week, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday sometimes different, but those days aren't like a regular routine for me. So I might meditate, but I might just like grab a book and I'm reading now. So
yeah,
now I'm doing something. It's still meditative,
yeah.
um, but yeah, every day.
So it's not something I like that where it's not something you're just like make yourself do it. So you give yourself a break, and it's that's the way to do it. Okay,
Mhm.
so let's talk about your mission, and it sounds like so much fun what you do. It's to help companies embrace workplace wellness, and man, does that sound like something we need. So how has that evolved in light of COVID? Like that that has to have changed.
Well, so the beauty of it is it the idea came well before COVID, but it's like it doesn't really need to evolve because everything that I talk about in my book and my podcast and my writing is and in my workshops that I deliver to companies is all of the topics lend themselves to a more peaceful, happy, content life for you professionally or personally. And with COVID, it's just like we need more of it.
Oh,
So right? So and some people will get tripped up on their workplace wellness because they think of health and it's actually just more clinical.
right.
But it's really just it's getting more familiar, that term, because of everything that happened with COVID, but it's also um, people will embrace it more when they say, employee engagement or employee happiness and contentment and all of that, because employees are distracted and disconnected and dissatisfied because they're not in their normal routines. They're not collaborating with people at work like they normally would in person. They're not getting that live human being connection that they're used to, and they're more distressed and they're more dissatisfied. And people think they know why. It's like, oh, it's just because I don't have my normal routine. It's like, no, it's because you need human connection and you need to bounce
Thank
ideas
you.
off each other and energy and all of that. And
Thank
um,
you for saying that because people say, oh, I think it's a new norm, and that people are going to be working from home, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, I think people need interaction. I know I do. It's huge for me, and
yeah,
I can't imagine people that. And I have lots of friends that are working from home that normally didn't, and they don't love it.
hmm
And so they want to go back to work, and
hmm
kids want to go back to school. And so I think that what you're doing, I mean, I love that you said it was the same thing before COVID as it is now with COVID, because wellness didn't just begin with COVID, right?
right,
Wellness
right,
in the workplace, we needed it before, and now we do need it more than ever. So,
right.
um, So you kind of answered my next question, which was, have you found that people like working from home, or they want to go back to the office?
So I ran into this girl in my building the other day because they just opened up I live in a high rise. They opened up the top floor. Like it's this lounge area where you can go work and you could have parties
Yes.
eventually.
Does it have a view like you have?
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's better.
Oh,
And I was up there just working, and so was she. She was on a business call, and when she got off the phone, I just was talking to her, and she's like, she looked like defeated, almost like she's tired of it. Like it's nice we can all be comfy in our comfy clothes and not have to go out, but it's like it's getting old, and it's getting old because it's like we're not meant to be sitting home by ourselves in our apartments or homes every single day talking to a computer. I mean, I love that we can at least talk live to people and everything, and I'm all for that technology, but I mean, we're supposed to be connecting, like feeling the energy from other people and all of that good stuff that comes with it. And she was a lot younger than me, but I could just tell. I think originally people were like, "Oh, this is awesome." And my son, and same thing. It's like it's good for a little bit, and it's like this isn't good for me. Like people realize pretty quickly mentally that it's not so great every single day. My husband's one of those people. He's like, I can't sit in the house all day. I need to get out. It's not going to be good for me. So I think I think what I found, to answer your question, is most people are more like, this is nice a couple of days a week, and then I want to be in the norm in the office a couple of days a week. So there's going to be more of this hybrid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a good change. I think that's a valid statement, that maybe it'll be more flexible. People will be able to go in and maybe they work from home a couple days a week.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good meet in the middle.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So you do workshops, and I have a question about that, because you have great reviews on your workshops, so people love them, obviously. Yeah. And I'm wondering, like, were you nervous with your first workshop that you did, and how did you get into doing workshops?
So I've always been in learning and development in my over 20-year career. So I have a business degree, a marketing and economics undergrad degree, and then I have a master's in teaching. So I knew I wanted to teach.
Okay.
So I was never nervous being in front of people, only because I love teaching and I love learning and helping people learn. So when I got into the corporate world and to combine my master's degree with my business degree, I'm like, I don't want to teach in schools. I tried that. I'm like, this is not for me. This is not where I'm supposed to be. I'm like, I'll do this in the corporate environment. And there's all kinds of cool training and leadership development and learning in corporate America. So I started with software training. It was the first training job I ever had. And I got a job with a company, and they taught me all about their software. And then when the clients bought the software, I went and taught them on how to use it. So initially, my first experiences with talking in front of clients, I was sitting at this massive table or in the front of the room, and everyone had to learn the software so they could do their jobs. So it's easier in that regard, because you're not up there, you're delivering a message, but they're intent and they're a little scared because, oh no, we're going to get this software and I better learn how to use it so I can do my job well.
Right.
But when I started transitioning and doing more of these workshops, it's always kind of on the side, like, I have this idea, can we try this? And I would give these other workshops just for fun, not even involved in my regular day-to-day jobs. Those were fun because I was up there talking about things I love talking about, that I'm passionate about. So right. I never was super nervous. Okay. I like being in front of, I don't like being in front of people. I like sharing the information I'm passionate about. Yeah. So I don't think of it as I'm getting up in front. I think of it as, I can't wait to share this stuff because it's cool and people are going to be excited about it. So that's how I get around, like, standing in front of people being nervous. I just think, like, you guys, you're going to feel so much better once I tell you what I have to tell you today. That's how I think of it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. That actually makes a lot of sense, because I know when my first experience with training was ExecuTrain. Do you remember ExecuTrain?
Totally.
So I worked for ExecuTrain.
Okay.
And I was a sales rep for them for a very long time. And there were times when a trainer would call in sick or something, and they'd be like, Heidi, you know PowerPoint so well because you have to teach this class. Yeah. What? So I would get in there, and of course, I just knew it by using it. And it went fine, and it was a lot of fun. So I can see that, where if you really know it well, but then they would throw me in like an Excel class, and I didn't do so well because I don't use that every day. So you're kind of like very nervous. And, if the students see blood or smell blood, they're going to bite and attack. And there were some times where I was like, I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, okay. So that's awesome. So it's, your product really well and you're passionate about it. And when you're sitting in an audience and someone is passionate about and knows their topic very well, it's mesmerizing. I love that.
It is. You're right. It's mesmerizing. And there will always be people, no matter what you're talking about, there's always going to be a couple people in the audience that want to trip you up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I just it has number one has nothing to do about with you, no matter how prepared or whatever. There are just people that want to challenge you for themselves, their ego. And I always just put it back like, oh, that's interesting. I just ask them another question, like, what's making you say that? Or I would love to talk to you more about that. I have a few more other things to say. Let's talk about that, later. But I validate what they're saying because it's really more about them and their feeling. And I used to get, when I was younger, I used to get like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can answer that question. So now I just start all my workshops with, you're probably going to ask questions that I don't necessarily have the answer to, and that's fine. And I'm going to try to find the answer for you. I'm going to help. I'm going to give you to somebody else that has it. I love questions that I don't know the answer to. That means I get to learn something else, and no one's ever going to stand up there and have the answer to every single thing.
Well,
So
you can't even be expected to do that. Like my trade, by trade, I'm trained as an interior designer, and that's always going to be one of my passions, right? So I do that as well. But I used to get so nervous about going into clients, like, what if they asked me, what if they, I don't know the name or how to pronounce a designer fabric name or something like that. And you're just like, why does it matter? Like, you could learn. Or even if somebody asks you something and you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know that, but I'm going to find out, like you said.
Right. People love that. People love that answer. And they don't expect you to know everything about everything. They just want to know that you can help them.
Yeah. And that you're competent, I think passion is more important than anything. When you're passionate about a topic, you dive into it and nothing bores you about it, right?
Right. And like you said, then the audience is they're more engaged and more mesmerized because they're like, they can tell that you're like, well, and this, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, awesome. Okay, so then let's talk a little bit about technology, because we're so tied to it. And I feel like with us being at home, just like with our Zoom call, we're tied more and kind of attached more to technology, especially our phones. I mean, it's rare to see someone. In fact, we were in Park City snow skiing with some friends, and my friend was standing talking to a couple of the young girls working, trying to get our skis together. And they said, well, just all you have to do is get on your phone and just put your size in there. And she goes, I don't have my phone. And they were so just in awe that she had left her phone. I mean, they really just couldn't believe that she didn't leave that she left.
I'm going to go skiing. What do I need my phone for?
We laugh so hard about it because it's like that generation, I think they're born with the phone in their hand. They're born knowing how to do that. So how you talk about how that has an impact on us. Can you tell us a little bit more about that technology?
Yeah. So there's so much research out there, scientific, people write about it all the time. So your phone, so Robin Sharma, he's an executive leadership coach now. He's got a couple of books out, Robin Sharma. And one of his books talks about, I think I read this in one of his articles, talks about how your phone, talks about multitasking. And he also talks about how your phone actually lowers your IQ when it's in the same room with you. So even if it's off. So it's really about like getting your phone out of your environment while you're working on whatever you're working on, because it actually affects your brain, even though you would think even if it's off, because your energy is like, you look over at it like it's going to ding, or you have this like obsessiveness about, it's that dopamine hit. Like, did someone need something from me? Is there something I'm waiting for me? All of that. So it actually changes the way you work because it impedes you. It just distracts you. So his advice is to get it out of the room if you're trying to focus on something.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So one of my mindfulness workshops I did last summer was about, I was talking about mindfulness, but really the subject was how multitasking affects your brain, because in the opposite is being mindful and being in the moment. But the multitasking actually, so I know that women, especially, I write about this in my book, we're really good at multitasking, men not so much, but guess what? Men are usually paid more and do better and are more successful faster. Maybe this is the key, like they're not as good at multitasking because they focus on one thing at a time. But women, everyone, when we're multitasking, our brain is only actually doing any one of those tasks at 40% capacity. So if you think about that, like, would you ever be proud of like leaving all the stuff you just did, the 10 things or 5 things you just finished, and say like, I just multitasked all that? And well, you did everything at 40% level.
No,
Like, you never say to your kids or, anyone that you are mentoring, like, go ahead and just do that half-ass. Just do
that's
that
like
at
a
40%.
D. That's
Yeah.
like a D, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, like, you would never, no one wants to perform that way. No one's ever told to perform that way, but that's what happens because our brains actually can't do 2 things at once. They
Okay,
can't.
that makes sense.
Yeah, there's tons of research. It's so fascinating. It's all about like neuroplasticity and neuroscience. It's very fascinating. But it's this one, and I didn't write about this in my book, but maybe I'll do a little. I'll add a chapter to it in the future. But it's about this study from the University of London, and they did a study on what happens when you're trying to multitask when you're like listening to a webinar, for example, and then you're writing an email on the side. It,
Right.
your brain actually goes from the IQ that it normally has to the IQ of an 8-year-old kid. And it actually is equivalent to smoking marijuana. So
Oh, wow.
when you're multitasking, your brain gets to the IQ level of an 8-year-old child. So I joked in one of my workshops last summer, why would you ever tell an 8-year-old kid, will you just go write this email for me while I'm on this webinar and then send it when you're done? Like to a colleague or a client or a boss? You would never. But that's what you're doing when you are not focusing.
Wow, I never thought about that. I mean, I've never really actively thought about it, but I know I can't even listen to music. So when I write my episodes for Monday, I can't listen to music because my brain wants to think about the lyrics or
Yeah, me too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a single focused person.
Yeah.
You saying that the iPhone actually lowers your IQ, I have a question about that goes beyond what you were talking about, and I wonder what you have to say about that. Okay, so I have found myself, if somebody asks me a question, I'm like, oh, I'll just Google it.
Yeah.
Instead of your brain working to kind of think about it, like, okay, I know the answer to that. You
Mm-hmm.
immediately to your phone. I think that is something that is probably hindering us more too, is that you're relying so much on your technology and not on your brain, which is actually very intelligent.
Yes, I totally agree. So I talk about this in my book, about all the wisdom that we actually have inside. And I agree. There's things you have to look your phone up, like how big is a whatever, like it's a scientific thing. You have the fact is there. It's not in your brain. It's here unless you learned it somewhere else and you can access it from a year ago or whatever. So there
Right.
are things, of course, you need to look up on your phone. How old is Clint Eastwood? And watching a movie, like that kind of stuff. You have to, you have your phone, right? But the other things, like when you have questions, and I did this activity probably like 4 to 6 months ago. It was based on a podcast that Amy Porterfield did, and she's an online marketing guru. And she basically was like, sit down for 20 minutes or an hour and write down like all the questions you have about your business and your life or your work, and see if you can't answer them yourself. See what the answers come to you. It's a very cool exercise. I think it's called super thinking or something.
Yes,
Look it
yes.
up. And it was very uncomfortable. I've only done it once, and I have this book here. It's in here, and I did it, and I wrote all the stuff down that I was wondering about. And you would be amazed at the answers that came. And I wanted to pick up my phone, to get distracted, to look at something else, and I did not let myself. And like 20 minutes in, I'm like, okay, this is boring. And then I'd write another question, and I'd write another answer. 1 hour. It was torturous. But I have pages and pages of the questions and the answers that I don't need to go to other people for. I already know them.
I love
Like, what's
that.
the next thing I should do? What's good for my business? Whatever it is. It was a really cool exercise. I don't know if she learned it from someone else or what. I want to credit the right person, but I definitely heard it from her. But I told some of my friends to try it. And of course, it's not something you normally do. You're like, oh, I'd go read a book, or I would listen to someone else tell me. But it's like, no, listen to yourself. We are wise beyond what we think we are.
Yeah,
And when we can just go in, and you get a lot of this from meditation, the more you meditate, the more that stuff just comes to you, not
absolutely.
accidentally. It's flowing through you more easily. And then when you go to ask those questions later, because you already have this practice that you're doing every day, the answers come to you more quickly.
Right, right. I think
Yeah.
that is brilliant. I love that idea. I actually have heard something similar, but it's actually a little different. Do you ever listen to Brooke Castillo's podcast?
Brooke Castillo.
Yeah, yeah. Check her out.
Okay.
Her earlier podcasts I really, really, really love. She's really good. I think you might like her.
Okay.
But she talks about question fatigue or why fatigue, and it's like you ask you don't even think about trying to get the answer yourself. Like she said, people would do this to her as the CEO of her company. They'd be like, "Hey, Brooke, what about this?" And she'll be like, "You know the answer to that. You're
Yeah.
just lazily not
Yep.
wanting to come up with it. And I want you to go back to your office and I want you to find that answer without looking at anything, basically
Right.
stop
Yeah.
easy thinking." And I thought, "Ooh, that's a little bit harsh, but so true." I
Mhm.
so many times I want to it's easier just to ask somebody else when you kind of, the answer to that.
Yeah,
So
and also it's easier to ask somebody else and get the answer, and then you're not accountable for it.
right. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah,
Right? If someone else gives you the answer and then you do that, you can be like, if it's wrong, it's
yeah.
not your fault.
Well, that's yeah, it's so
You know?
so
So
much.
it's like, oh, what do you think? Yeah, my husband will do that sometimes. He's like, no, it's like you already have something in mind. And we do that with each other a lot, but it's like, because you can blame the other person later instead of just saying, I think I'm going to try this and I have to risk something. It's easier to let someone else risk it than for you to risk it.
Yep, yep. I love that. Okay, that is really good. All right, so then let's talk about in your testimonials I talked about earlier. They're really good. Like people really, I would love to listen in on one of your workshops.
Yeah, I'm going to do one soon. So I'll invite you.
Yes, I would love that. Please, I would love it. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so they talk about we talked a little about multitasking, which we just talked about that. It's easy to get very overwhelmed because we're all so super busy. But
Yep.
you say multitasking. You talk about multitasking as only 40%, right? You
Yeah.
can only
You're
do.
only doing anything at 40% capacity if you're doing more than one thing at a time. Yeah.
Okay, so then do you say, okay, write this thing down and do it later? Or how do you effectively take all the ideas in your brain or all the things that you have to do and do them at 100% or 90% or whatever?
Yeah. So what I do, this was work, and I say just do whatever works for you. But if I'm having a conversation, like my husband, since my book was released, recently, when we're talking at night and we're catching up on things, he'll say, "What about this?" I'm like, "That's a great question." I'll just put it in my phone, it's nearby, or I'll write it down on a sheet of paper. I don't write in pen and paper, but
Right.
I'll write it somewhere so that I'm capturing it. So I don't have to go to bed thinking about all those and do that list in my head. Like, I forgot about this. What if I wake up and I forget to do that? I don't want to have that in my brain. So I write it down. I put a note in my phone or in my calendar or whatever. And I remind myself, I did this last night. I had a ton of stuff to follow up with today. And so, because I watched a podcast yesterday, this morning, I had a list. I'm like, I'm not going to worry about this. I'm just going to go through. And I have a great photographic memory anyway. So I just started going through it when I got up. I knew I'm going to spend an hour doing everything. And then I went to look back at my list and I did almost everything on there without even looking at it because I just have a good memory. That's not everyone, I get it. But I do that so that I can say, all right, I'm going to write this email. I'm going to send 2 thank you emails. I did that. Okay. I have to follow up. Someone asked me for more information. Done. I want to, send an invite for this meeting. Done. I just go back and look at, and check out my phone, make sure I did everything. But I was tempted to start going through my email and going through other things that people were asking me about. I'm like, no, I committed to doing this today. That's how I wrote my book. I committed to writing every day for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not looking at my email. No one's saying, "Hey, Julie, why didn't you reply to me yet?" I decide what I'm going to be doing and
That's right.
creating. Yeah. No one's holding a gun to my head saying, "Why don't you check your email at 8:30 today? It's 10:30 now." Who cares? Unless you committed to doing something, right? So I just heard something, was it last night or today? I think it was on meditating today. Someone said, "You are the only person that's going to create what you want in your life. You are the only person."
Yes.
So if you don't have what you want in your life and you're not getting done what you want to get done, you're the only person that can change it.
Yeah.
That you can blame for it, that whatever. Like you're not a victim. You are creating your life as you want it. So if you want something in your life, you're responsible for making that happen.
I love that
So
so much.
that's how I look at it now. I've been doing. It's like I'm not the shoulds, especially with women. It's always like I should be doing this. I should. Who's telling you that? My husband doesn't tell me that.
Yeah.
My dad said, "Julie, you should be." That was my mom talking. That
Right.
was my siblings talking, right? Those are our friends, or really probably not our friends, other people. That's mostly our voice. So I'm like, right? It's like we're doing it to ourselves, and we're not healthier for it. We're not making more money for it. We're not freer for it. We're making everything worse. So it's like I'm not thinking like that anymore. It's like I'm going to create what I want, and then I'm responsible for having it.
Yeah, and along that same line of thought, I interviewed a guy, one of my first interviews, and it was so good. And I love to follow him on. His name is Ed Lattimore, and he's he says all the time, "No one's coming to save you," right? So I never forgot that because
Yeah.
women, I think, and I think it's more women than it is men. We have a tendency to think, oh, somebody, can save us, or somebody, somebody needs to help me do this, or somebody, or
Yeah.
I need help. No,
Yeah.
you can do it. And if you do actually need help, ask for it and get it.
Right.
And
Right.
that is because nobody's reading your mind. We have to
Right.
be so certain of what we want and then
Yeah.
create it. And I
Mhm.
love that. I love that you're doing that. I love that you're talking
Yeah.
about it. I love all of it. and
Yeah, and
the
I love, you're
second,
right. We have the answers inside, and then, like you said, and then ask for help. You can't do anything on your own. I've been talking to a lot of people on my podcast every week too. It's like you ask for support, ask for help. There's people out there that are experts in things that you're not. So you can have the wisdom and the ideas and like the intuition to know what the next step is. But then when you say, I know what the next step is, I don't have everything I need yet, that's when you can go ask other people, listen, I'm trying to create this. Can I have help with it? Like with my book, I wrote it. I'm done with that. What do I do now? How do I get it into the world? So I
that's right.
started asking people, like, what do I need to do? Oh, you need to talk to this person. You need to talk to this person. Try this program. Then you, with your wise self, get to decide what the right thing is for you. But at least now you have choices because you asked.
That's right. And I'm so excited to talk about your book. I'm saving that until the last so that we can end on that because it's such a
Cool.
huge note. But yes. Okay. So then we talked about creating. I agree with you. I write everything down. And when I write them down, now I'm a day planner girl. So I have had moments of trying to do technology. I actually like to write it down, look at it, and I am like you. I don't have to have my day planner with me. If I've
Yeah.
written it down for the day, I have found that no matter what I do, even if I don't want to do something or it's out of the way, if I've written it down that it's going to get done and I'm out and about, say like I have to take something to get it altered or something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it happens regardless, just because
Right.
my brain is like in the background going, you got to do this, you got to do this, even though I'm not
Right.
thinking about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So there, I think there's something to that. So,
Yeah. I
um,
think you're right.
all right. So you have a gratitude practice, and you do talk about gratitude in some of your workshops, I think, or I've heard you talk about.
Yeah. So it's a workshop and it's a chapter. Yeah.
Okay,
Chapter.
in your
Yeah.
book. Okay, yes,
Yep.
yes. Well, I can't wait to read your book because it's getting me kind of excited to read it. So,
Yeah. Good.
but how can someone begin that's listening? Let's say someone's listening and they're like, okay, I've got nothing to be grateful for right now.
Mm.
The world is not my friend at the moment. How can someone begin to practice gratitude even when they aren't feeling like they have anything to be happy
Yes.
grateful for?
Well, it's a great question, and it's one of my favorite ones because um, there's always something to be grateful for. So the hard part to conceive is, how am I going to have more of what I want by focusing on the things I have? And that's exactly when you're going to get more of what you want. When you focus on all the negative things in your life, I'm sure you notice. Anyone can just do this experiment. You start thinking about all the crap, like you get cut off on the street in your car, right? And then you go to the grocery store and someone is rude at the checkout counter. And like it goes on and on and on because you're focusing on all those little negative things that are happening to you. You get more. It's not an accident. It's because that's what you're focusing on. So what you focus on expands, right? That's not a new concept. In gratitude, if you wake up in the morning, you're like, I don't have the job I want. I'm not in a house I want. I don't have the love of my life, whatever it is that you want. And you start saying to yourself, I don't have, the universe hears, I'm lacking. And guess what you create? More of lack, more of the same, nothing that you want. But if you wake up and say, you don't ever say to yourself, I never say in the morning when I'm practicing gratitude, I sure do wish I had more clients. I sure do wish I had more money coming in. I say, I'm so grateful for the relationships I've been building lately. I'm so grateful that I have this warm, comfortable bed to sleep in. I'm so grateful that my husband makes sure that I have what I need or in the morning so that I can meditate and I'm not disturbed. I'm so grateful that, and there's a million things you can be grateful for. You have a roof over your head. You have family and friends that love you, whatever it is. There's always something tiny to be grateful for. And if you start focusing on, and it's only 3, like it can be overwhelming to say 10 things. Well, you probably could find 10 easily if you thought about it, but at least 3, there's something right in your bedroom. There's 3 things you can be grateful for. So you have clothes on your back, you have, a pillow that you like, you have sheets, whatever it is. So I would say start with the smallest thing. And as you concentrate on those things that you're grateful for, you will start getting more of them in your life. And you'll be like, why it's hard to explain how this works with someone who's never really thought about energy and spirituality before, but really is, everything is energy. I talk about this, and I keep saying I talk about this in my book because it really is, everything I'm saying is stuff I've been talking about for years.
No, but it's good because it gets us excited.
Yeah, everything is energy. Every single thing you see is energy.
Yeah.
And if you think about like scientifically, the body is made up of like 99.9999% space, and only like, honest to God, it's like 0.0001% matter, like physical matter of your body. Like it seems like there's a lot more in there. There's way more space than there is matter in your body, which means in all that space attracts energy, and there's energy flowing through your body. So this might be a little woo-woo for some people, but it's factual. You can read about it. There's doctors writing about it all the time now, neuroscience and epigenetics and everything. But the point is, when you're focusing on negative or positive, whatever you're focusing on draws more of that same energy to you. So if you're focusing on negative things, more negative things come. If you're focusing on positive things, more positive things come. It's such a simple practice. It doesn't cost any money. That's what I love about it. It barely takes any time. It takes seconds. If you only do 3 of them, under a minute, everyone can do it. And if you don't believe me, just try it. Just start doing it and see what happens. It's like, do the experiment.
That's what I was going to say, is that it for some people who are, I'm naturally optimistic. So my set point is naturally like just happy. Right. And I've noticed though, as I've gotten to a certain age, like if hormones are a little off or something, I don't know if you've ever experienced that or not, but like my hormones. And so I notice, I'm like, when you are not feeling optimal, you have to do things to help yourself improve that mood, because what you focus on, if you're going negative, you're so right. You can easily create a problem in your life where there wasn't one, because you're focusing on stupid little negative
thing.
Yeah. And so yes. Okay, good. I love that. And I think that if people listening just practice this, if nothing else, being grateful for 3 things in the morning and seeing how that changes your mood.
Because you wake up like thinking like, look at me, that did feel good. My sheets are nice. I have a great pillow. I have warm boots to put on, whatever it is. Like I have what I need. And then you start the day with like, okay, I do. Like you have a little bit more pep in your step. But if you wake up like dreading stuff, it's just,
the alternative is no good. That's what I always say. People are like, why would you be optimistic just for, it's just so frou-frou. I'm like, what's your alternative?
Yeah, what's your alternative?
Can it just be negative? Just
feel more like crap. Yeah, be negative and then have more of that in your life. Why?
Right, exactly. Right. And it's just so much more fun to be happy. So,
we're meant to be. That's the whole point.
Meant to be happy. That's right. So I love to talk about happiness too, because wildly successful lifestyles, to me, every single one has to include being happy, happiness of some sort. So I want to ask you, from your perspective, like what you think the key to happiness is.
Ooh, that's a good question.
A big one.
Yeah. I think I would say like waking up every day with something that you feel purposeful and passionate and believe that you want to share. Like sharing your gifts with the world is really the key to happiness, because if you don't take what you have in your life and in your being and in your psyche and your wisdom and everything and share it with other people, the contribution you're making and the service you're providing and all of that is going to make everything in your life better, your relationships, your health. I mean, it's all connected. But if you wake up and you don't have any of that, it's like the statistic about retirement, how people will retire and then their health will decline and they'll be more depressed and they're lonely and they're not connecting and everything. Okay. They don't have a purpose anymore. Like you have to get up, and even if you don't need to make any money, you have to wake up and say like, what am I doing today? I mean, I have friends that are wealthy and they'll say, like, I need something to do. They need some purpose. Absolutely. If they're not parenting anymore, if they're not working anymore, they need something to contribute to.
I love
So yeah, what is that for you?
That is
Yeah.
really, really good. I love the answer that you gave, waking up feeling purposeful. I have friends that have had children, and of course they grow up and they go to college, and it's like trying, dragging them out of bed because they almost have nothing to, do anymore, like nothing
Yeah.
to live for because their kids
Yeah.
are off doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And so I would always encourage, I love that answer. And I would encourage everyone that even if you have little kids right now, start working on something that gives you purpose, even if it's just volunteering or something, because the happiest people do always have a purpose. They've got something. And I'll be honest with you, when I started this podcast, that was for purpose, because in interior design, and it just worked out so beautifully because with COVID, you're not doing interior design in other people's homes,
Right.
or any of it at all. So it started being so like purpose driven, because I'm like, what can I do to add to people's happiness right now?
Yeah.
And so it does give you purpose. And I love that. Thank you for that answer. Okay, let's talk about this fabulous book. I'm so excited about, congratulations on being a #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Thank you.
So exciting. I cannot even imagine. So the name of it is Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective, which makes me want to read it just by the title alone.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I mean, I know people can't see because we're doing audio, but just for you, it's like the most beautiful cover. It's just like,
it is
right?
so beautiful and peaceful. I want to sit in that chair. So
I love it. Yes. That's what
all
people
right.
say.
So then let's just talk about the book. Like, can you give us a sneak? You kind of have been talking about it though, really getting us excited about reading it. But you talk about 8 secrets to serenity and satisfaction, and I don't want you to give us all of them because I want you to read the book and give us something.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about like what made you think about like writing this book. What was it? Just talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's been, I have been, these concepts in the book, the topics, each chapter is a secret to more peaceful, content, happy living, basically, when in your personal or professional life. I've always been one of those people that was searching and learning and figuring things out as I was going. But along the way, if I couldn't have the job I wanted or the promotion I wanted or the pay I wanted or whatever it was, in between, I had to figure out a way to be happy during whatever I was transitioning to, because I knew that was the key to getting the next thing I wanted or the place I wanted or the role I wanted or whatever. And these are everything that I talk about in this book are things that have made my life more fulfilling and more peaceful and more satisfying, because everything in here I'm talking about is stuff that you can do every day. You can do it if you have a job, if you don't have a job, if you're the CEO of a company, if you're 22 years old, if you're in high school, you can do everything I talk about in this book, and everything in there and it's free also, which is nice. And there's no formula. It's just think about these concepts and how they apply to your life and go out every day. Like with the first chapter is possibilities. And it's really about, and that's why it's in the title, peace, possibilities, and perspective. I want people to be peaceful and like content, and content doesn't mean like, I don't love my life and I'm not going to do anything about it. That's just like an internal, like I'm content with how everything is right now. And I'm good. I have what I need, that kind of contentment, in peace. And then possibilities, like you might be content and you might have everything you need right now, but you also really want to dream big. And you know that there's more out there for you, and you know that you have great ideas and you want to see them fulfilled, and you want to be around people that are going to support your dreams and bring all your gifts into the world. And that's what the possibility is all about. Like don't ever stop searching for that and being in that mindset, because that's what's going to get you what you want ultimately and keep you super happy and probably wealthy too. And then having perspective, like everything, every single day, whether something good or bad's happening to you, it's all about perspective. Things can always be worse. Things could always probably be a little bit better, but in the big scheme of things, do you love the people in your life? Do you have what you need? Do you have purpose every day when you wake up? Like, are you connected to good people? All of those, are you being grateful every day and mindful? And, being a better human being doesn't take a ton of effort, but it takes practice. You don't all of a sudden have a book because it's just not magic. You have to work at it every day. You have to do a little something every day to reach your goals. And when I say do, like I also don't want people to think that if you're not performing and doing something that you don't have value. It's like, but being sometimes is even more valuable. And there's studies about super famous people that do this every day. Like I'm saying, I'm meditating almost an hour every day. There's people that do this for a couple hours. They just give themselves, like, it's called genius time, or you could call it super thinking, but there's no technology, there's no conversation, there's no meetings. It's like they're trying to manifest more of their wisdom and their strengths and figure out what creative projects they want to work on. They're doing all of that because they know that they have to go in here to reflect on what they need to produce it out here, you know?
It's
So,
so true.
yeah.
That point alone, I think, you talked about internal things. I think a lot of times people, until you get to a certain point where you have things, you realize that those are not the things that make you happy. It's
Right.
You have to get that happiness from inside, because a new car, let's say you get a new car and you don't pay cash for it, right? So you have 4 months down the road, you're paying for it, or even let's say 2 years down the road,
Yeah.
you're still paying for it. You're kind of tired of the car, but you still have the payment,
Right.
So it's that newness that wears off. And so you have to find a way to be happy with, well, actually, I say happy and then, right? You talked
Yeah.
about your life where you had to find a way to be happy where you are, because that's what's going to take you to the next step.
Right.
I love that so much, because people think they need to do the next thing to be happy. And it's not. That's kind of backwards. Like, you have to be happy and then do the next thing.
Then do the next thing.
Stop searching for happiness and just be present. And when you're present, you're generally happy.
Yeah, I love what you said about finding internally, because it's really like, it's not the thing, it's the feeling. There's a lot of books about this too. You don't really want the new car. You want the feeling the new car gives you. You don't really want the promotion. You want the feeling of being respected and admired and more money and whatever. There's a feeling associated to it. So figure out the feeling you want, and there's probably more than one thing that can get you that feeling.
How do you get that feeling? Because that feeling is what you're looking for.
Yes, exactly.
Are you familiar with Abraham's work?
Abraham Hicks?
Yes, Esther Hicks.
Yes, I have the book right over here. Ask and It Is Given. I have it. I love that book, and it changed my life. I read it a couple years ago, but I've been reading similar books to that for years.
So I listen to a podcast every morning that is just a snippet of when she's done workshops, and I've actually been to one of her workshops. So,
cool.
Yeah, it's really something to behold. But a lot of this goes in line with what she talks about, because, and I say she, it's weird to talk about it, because
I love it. Yes.
You don't understand. But anyway. Right. For those of you listening and you're totally confused, you can go look it up. It's the Abraham Hicks. She does a workshop series, and you can find out for yourself what it is. But it's so good, and it just puts me in a place every morning where I'm like, okay, I'm responsible for my own happiness. I'm responsible for every single thought that comes out of my brain. And I think that's what you're trying to help people with when you have with this book, is you're like, be responsible for your thoughts.
Yes. Mike Dooley does it's called the TUT, TUT. He talks about, like, he does lessons from the universe. He's an awesome guy. And his big thing is thoughts create things. Your thoughts create things, period. Good or bad.
What's his last name?
Mike Dooley, Dooley, and it's TUT.com. You can sign up and get his lessons from the universe every day. And they're quick little 2 sentences did you know this? And it's all positive, beautiful energy stuff.
But awesome. I'll put that in the show notes too.
Yeah. His big thing is thoughts become things, choose the right ones. But the bottom line is, you can think negative all day long. This is the craziest thing. You can think negative thoughts all day long. But if you spend 4 minutes a day feeling like what your life would be like if you had everything you want. So I'm talking about visualizing, sitting down, put the timer on. I do this now, 4 minutes a day. Think about what it's going to be like to be living in your body when you have the things you want, the job you want, the house you want, whatever it is. What are you wearing? What does it smell like? Who are you with? All of those things. And you're feeling it in your body. You're actually getting the feelings in your body. That has more power in those 4 minutes to undo all of the negative stuff. So yes.
I have not heard of that. I love this.
Okay. It's awesome. But thoughts create things. But the positive thoughts have so much more power than the negative thoughts. You would think it'd be the opposite. So you can be crabby all day and think negative things, and then just spend 4 minutes a day visualizing what your life will be like when you have everything you want. And that's going to take you way further. So
I love that.
Anything, anyone, like a fun new tool, because you get all that great energy in your body, and that energy changes your frequency, and you start attracting things that you want in your life easier because you're already set there. Like, you know what it feels like. And then you get more of it. It's just like the gratitude thing.
Awesome. Okay. That's really great. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, your book, we want to find out where to find it, but I want to ask a couple questions about the mechanics of it real quick before we go into that. So how long did it take you to write it? And how did you find your way to being #1 bestseller? Like, talk to us about
So the writing is, I mean, it took me about a year, but that's not me working on it every day for a year. That was me, like, every day in June last summer, I wrote for 2 hours a day. Every day in September, October. There were days, a couple of those months in there we were moving, so I wasn't writing every day. I would write on the weekends in between when I had my other job. So I have to do the hours because people keep asking me, and I want to know how many hours it took, but I would say about a year.
Okay.
And that's just a little bit every day. The bestseller thing. So I have the publisher who helped me self-publish. Well, it's a hybrid publisher. It's called Ignite Press. And the guy who owns it, his name's Everett O'Keefe. It's an awesome guy. And I just had him on my podcast. Actually, you can hear it next week if you want.
Okay.
He's a great guy. And basically he loves to help people bring their messages out into the world. So he loves to write and read himself, and he's an author too. But really what he loves to do is hear from people like you or me who say, like, I have this great idea and I want to get it out in the world. And he's like, then you should, and I will help you. And here's how we're going to do it together. And they have editing and book design and all this, they have all the tools to help you. Like, they're not going to help you write it. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you have an idea and you haven't written it yet, you also can go to him and he can help you get it down on paper. He can start helping you with the process and pretty quickly write a good book, because there's really other ways you hadn't thought about before. Like, you could talk into your phone and have it transcribed, and that's a chapter in a book if you talk for an hour. You don't have to actually sit down and type it. So and his company will allow, so you launch it on Amazon in one day, and what helps is the more people that buy it in that 24-hour period, it keeps, you keep going up the ranks on Amazon because everyone's buying it on the same day. So when my book was promoted, it's 99 cents, and it was the Kindle version for one day. And the more people that buy it, the more your rankings increase. And then you pick categories that your book can do well in, and the categories obviously that fit your book. Like, one of mine is like personal testimonies, inspiration, spiritual stuff. And it's fun to see, because as the day's going by, with this happened a couple of weeks ago, like, you can see your book in line with some of these other people we've been talking about, these writers and authors that I admire. I'm like, oh, I'm beating them today in sales. Well, obviously, like, their book is 10 years old. Maybe no one's buying it today, but today I'm beating it because everyone's buying my book today. So it's really fun, and it's an honor that never gets taken away from you. Like, I published a book, I wrote a book. A lot of people will talk about it, and like 10% of people actually ever do it.
Right.
Finish the book and get it published. But then the best selling part is just like, you got to know a lot of people that want to support you and help you. And I'm blessed to have a lot of people in my life that said, I'll help you. I don't have a huge network, but I know a lot of people that do. And those people, because I've been connecting, which is one of the chapters in my book, connecting with people regularly for years and years, and authentically helping other people and giving back and building good relationships. I have great relationships, and those people want to support me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful, and I cannot wait to read your book. It's sounds so good. You've done so well. And all right, so the best place then to find, I want to get the name of your podcast, because I'll put that in the show.
Yeah. So the book can be on Amazon. The hardcover is going to be available in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be on Barnes and Noble and all kinds of other sites where books are available. In a couple of weeks, that will be officially everywhere. Right now, Amazon's the best place to get the paperback or the ebook. And they can reach. So my podcast is called the Peace and Possibilities Podcast, and my book is Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective. And I have every week, I just choose a person to have a conversation with that loves what they do. So the whole premise of the podcast is, I want other people to hear that there are people out there doing what they love and making a living at it, and you can too. Yes. And I want people to know they can do it sooner rather than later. Like, don't wait like me till you're on 50. Do it when you're 25 or 35 or 40. If you have something to share, don't waste decades of your life being miserable and doing things for other people when you have something in you that can make the world a better place. Like, don't wait.
Get it out.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So Peace and Possibilities Podcast, your book, Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective. And then online, do you have an Instagram that we can follow?
I do. It's yes to possibility, yes. And then the number 2 possibility is Instagram. I'm on Facebook also. And then my website is just the number 2 possibility and beyond.com.
I loved
So
that, by the way.
yeah, I love it too. So if people like work for a company, they love to have my workshops, my program there. They can go online and see the services that I provide in my workshops, and my podcast and book you can find on my website too.
Yeah. So anybody listening, if you are someone that you're working in a company and you'd like to have Julie do a workshop, I mean, for me, like I can't imagine anything more fun than having a workshop with you as with a company, because I bet morale is so high after they're done with that.
I know, it's so exciting. I know, that's why I want to do it for people, companies, and not necessarily one-on-one, because it's like and everyone gets energy from everyone else.
They do.
Talking about these subjects. Yeah.
So true. It's so true. And especially, sometimes, and then we're going to end this because I don't want to take you all day. But, sometimes if you go to a seminar alone, right, and you get real hyped up and then you go back to work and everybody else is just their own self, Yeah. So, right. And then you're kind of like, okay, the energy just sort of drains. But if everyone goes together and you're around those people, and then the energy just sort of builds. So I love that concept, and I think that's brilliant, and I cannot wait to be invited to your workshop that you told me.
Cool.
All right, Julie, this has been so much fun. I have enjoyed it immensely, and I'll look forward to getting your book for starters, and then listening to your podcasts and all the good things. And I'll put all of this in the workshop so everyone, in the show notes, so everyone can hear it as well.
Righty. I will say, I forgot to say, the audiobook, I've already recorded it. We just need to produce it and get it on Audible. That's probably going to be about 60 days. So I know there's people, like I have some good friends, like they're not big readers, like they want to listen to it. It'll be out in a couple months. So
yeah, I love audiobooks, especially, when you're driving back and forth to work or whatever, whenever you're driving, I love listening to books on audio.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people do.
All right, Julie, this has been wonderful. Go enjoy your day. I know you're busy, and just have a wonderful day, and we will.
Thanks, Heidi. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Yes. All right.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.